So every day I read all the comments that you guys send to me, and I respond to every single one of them, even if it's just cool or yep, something like that. But I always have some kind of response. And somebody sent me a comment, and it just kind of stopped me. And it was, hey, George, what are your top 5 hardware units that you would use to mix that no plugin can do? No plugin can do what they do. And it just kind of made me stop and think. And I'm going, the salesperson side of me would, say, well, you can get all this outboard gear and it'd be nice to have. But the person I would actually mix it, I'm going, there is everything I need in my computer to do a really great job. And then I was thinking, there's a lot of studios I go into and they got a lot of outboard gear and they don't turn it on as much as they used to because they need to get things done quickly. I mean, I've had discussions with people and they say, well, I love, using this piece, but, recalling it is kind of a pain. And if I'm in a hurry and, I have to get it there for the client and it sounds great to me, I just do that. And I was just thinking about, if there was a piece of gear that a plugin hasn't emulated, the DW Fern stuff just sounds fantastic to me. The VT5, the VT4, they're the EQs. The VT7 is the compressor. And I remember taking a VT7 to a studio and we plugged it in on the stereo bus and we didn't even set it up to do anything. We just bypassed it and then ran a signal through it and turned it back on. And just the signal going through those tubes, it did something. There was some kind of magic going on. And I remember the client, he kept trying to reproduce it with his plugins and he couldn't. And this client, I mean, getting money out of him was really tough. So he had to make sure for himself it was absolutely worth the money. And we went back and forth. I mean, we spent the day there going back and forth with that VT7. And by the end of the day, he says, you know what? There's something about this box that it's adding to the mix, and I can't tell what, but it sounds great to my ears. So that would be a VT7 I would get, a VT5 maybe, the stereo DW Fern. But also the guy is asking on a mix, like it's different for, coming in, if you're tracking, that's a whole other, the mic pre's and the microphones and the converters and all that. Also on mix, having good converters so you can hear really good and having good, great set of speakers so you can hear what's going on. But he's asking me, what 5 pieces of hardware? And it just kind of stopped me. And I even called my friend Tom Vopicelli. We were talking about that. And he kind of said the same thing. He has a couple of VT4s and I think, and he has a VT7 too. And he was telling me the same thing. He says, those pieces, they just sound great when you even just in bypass, you just run it through and it sounds great. So there you go. I don't know if that's an answer or not, but when I was over at Jazzy Jeff's studio, he has a ton of outboard gear. And I asked him, does he use any of it? He said, no. He says, it's there. I turn it on. It makes people, look at it. But he says, I don't use really much of any of it, for mixing. So I think there's a lot of people like that. They want to get the job done. They do have a lot of outboard gear. They don't have the time to get it all up and running. And they kind of just bypass it. So if you have the time, I guess, I don't know. It's an interesting topic. What do you absolutely need that a plugin could not recreate for a mixdown? So there you go. I think that may be an interesting conversation.